Today, there's no greater threat to our planet than climate change. 2014 was the planet's warmest year on record. 14 of the 15 hottest years on record have all fallen in the first 15 years of this century. Climate change can no longer be denied or ignored. The world is looking to the United States, to us, to lead. And that's what we're doing.
It could be one of the more critical issues come POTUS Election Day that at the moment is buried in the haze of Iran, ISIS, immigration, and more. The changing global climate, whether nature-made, man-made, combination of both, is affecting everyone at some level. The most recent news being a change in where bumblebees are found in North America, rising sea levels, and air pollution, perhaps, causing Chinese floods. Let's explore deeper, talk about some presidential politics as well with Larry Bell, professor at the University of Houston and author of Scared Witless, Prophets and Prophets of Climate Doom. Larry, thanks so much for joining us here in studio.
Glad to be on. Thank you so much.
You also, sir, when the president says that, and you've heard that as well, when he says no greater threat than climate change, how do you react knowing your research?
I think that probably that's a lot of populations have been extinct because of climate change. I don't know anyone that denies that climate changes. Look out the window. It just hasn't changed recently. According to satellite records, there's been no statistical warming now in 18 years, which means that students in high school today have never known global warming. So maybe the bumblebees, if they're extinct, if they're dying off, they must be very old bumblebees.
Well, we also do have the bumblebee researchers out there with the entomologists. We have rising sea levels. We have a lot of different things out here. But is it not fair to say that there are some who will blame man, but there's also nature at work here, whether it's the sun, whether it's the earth itself? It is a combination of both.
The human effects on climate have never been measured. So you can't say humans have no impact on climate, because you could say, well, does agriculture and land use changes have any impact on climate? I don't know anyone who would deny that. Is deforestation having some impact? As far as carbon dioxide is concerned, you must understand that the climate was warmer between 1910 and 1945. I happened to be born sort of somewhere between there. Mm-hmm. Then it cooled for 3 centuries, despite the fact that carbon dioxide levels were rising. They rose a bit from remember in the late 70s, perhaps you don't remember, the New York Times was talking about an iceberg. Was going to crush New York City. Well, that didn't quite happen, because 12 years later, there were hearings in Washington, and all of a sudden, the planet's on fire, we're causing it, you got to pass the Kyoto Protocol right away, or the polar bears are doomed. And then, 10 years after that, 1998, we've had no statistical warming now since 1998, a major El Nino year. Mm-hmm. And so far, a lot of people are predicting we're going to have a continued cooling based upon solar activity, which has been very low during this cycle. Looks like we're going to another cycle, which isn't about the heat of the sun. It has to do with the effects of the sun on cloud cover and some other issues.
Let me turn a little bit to presidential politics, couple of minutes we got left here, because this will eventually be something that they'll talk about come 2016 eventually. Donald Trump is a guy right now making a tremendous amount of news. He believes in clean air, but he is very skeptical of climate change and feels that it's the stringent environmental rules making it difficult here for American business. So he sits on the side of climate denying. Do you think he's not a scientist, but do you think he's got it right?
First of all, let me clarify. When you say pollution, carbon dioxide is plant food. It makes the rainforest happy. It makes Bambi smile. Carbon dioxide is what greenhouses put on their plants to make them grow. So to call carbon dioxide a pollutant is a bit misguided. If we're talking about pollution, there's real pollution in terms of particulate matter that comes from a lot of different sources. That nobody wants dirty air, dirty water, dirty land. But to equate that to carbon dioxide is just really very far off base.
Okay, but is Trump right in what he thinks about with regard to needing change? And he, again, is somebody who doesn't really stand on the side of climate is all man-made.
Well, Trump is partly right in the sense that there's an enormous amount of profiteering on the fear. And the notion that there's this looming crisis is absolutely nonsensical. I read also something he said about the Chinese brought on the propaganda about global warming. No, the United Nations did. Mm-hmm. Chinese benefited because they didn't have to comply with the Kyoto Protocol. But there's an awful lot of nonsense out there. The notion oh my God, climate change. So I've never met anyone that didn't think climate change is, to the extent that, are we causing it? We also hear about this bogus 97% of scientists. That's totally corrupt.
15 seconds. Do you think this will be a key element in the 2016 election?
They're going to try to make it one because the climate talk's coming up in Paris. This is one of Obama's legacy policies, so they're going to push the heck out of it. Whether it resonates with the public, right now the public's pretty indifferent. If you look at the list of priorities the public has, this is dead last.
I think the public has got a lot of other things on their minds right now. I want to remind everybody about the book by Larry Bell, Scared Witless. Make sure you pick up a copy, learn a whole lot more about climate than you didn't know and that you need to know as well. Larry, always a pleasure, my friend.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for joining us. Good to see you again. Coming up next, the one man who has successfully taken over American politics, social media, and the airwaves of opinion, right here on the fastest 60 Minutes in News.